Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehos. And in this video, I got a casual comic book haul Friday to show with you guys here today. Nothing too special about this video other than the fact that I've been picking up some really cool books these last couple weeks, just, every time I've popped into my LCS. And, kind of the theme of this little haul I got for you guys is a lot of these books are Copper Age books that I find myself picking up every single time I see them being sold at good prices. And, of course, at the end of the day, this is always one of those situations where I encourage all of you guys to buy what you like. But I really do think that anytime you see some of these books being sold at these prices, or these good decent prices out there, I would highly encourage you guys pick them up, because I really do think these books right here are great Copper Age books to invest in or to spec on and to hold for the long term. But before I get into the books, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel doing those things, I'd appreciate it. But let's get into this little comic book haul for you guys here today. The first book I was actually able to pick up just the other day in my LCS was this one right here, Punisher #1 from 1987. Picked this one up for 20 bucks, which to me, again, is a great price for a #1 issue like this. Just an absolute classic cover of the Punisher. Of course, ASM 129, First Appearance of the Punisher, I think is a really great book to get your hands on if you're someone out there who can afford it. But if you can't afford it, to me, this one right here, Punisher 1, the first solo ongoing, and then also Punisher 1, his limited series, I think these are two really great Punisher keys to have in the collection. I've always really loved the Punisher. He's not been my favorite character, which is why I've never really targeted ASM 129. But for me, I've recently been thinking, okay, we're probably going to get John Bernthal come to the MCU in some kind of way, and it would just be nice to have my hands on some kind of Punisher key in some kind of way. So this one for me is the one that kind of fits within my budget. A book that I talked about, one to invest on a $25 budget. In fact, a lot of these books are ones that I talked about in that video to invest in, but I really do like this book. And for me, every time I see it, I am always happy to pick that one up. This next one here is another book. I was actually able to score this one as well for $20. And this one right here is Rocket Raccoon #1 from 1985. This is the first solo series featuring Rocket Raccoon. Again, Rocket Raccoon, another character who has kind of solidified himself in the Marvel, zeitgeist, a character that, I feel like even though we're getting, we're going to see him again in the holiday special, we're going to see him again in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then you might say that, oh, he's probably going to, be done after that, or maybe they're going to kill him or do whatever they do with him, or Bradley Cooper's going to move on, or James Gunn's going to move on. But I really think that, Marvel feels like they've knocked it out of the park with this character. Think of all the toys that they sell of Rocket Raccoon. Think of how much the kids really love this character. I really do think that this is going to be a character that, continues to remain in the MCU and the Marvel comic book space for quite some time. And even though this isn't his first appearance, like the Punisher book, I really do love, first solo series or first solo titles, because if you're a fan of the Rocket Raccoon character, how can you not love, seeing his name right there on the top of the comic book? It's a very satisfying #1 issue. It's got a great cover, so I really like this book overall, especially as a Copper Age book to pick up for the long term. All right, this next one here is another sort of a Copper Age book that is just a classic one. I feel like everybody should have a copy of this one in their collection. But this one right here is Avengers Annual #10, first appearance of Rogue. This is actually the first appearance or first cover appearance of Mystique as well. First cover appearance of, Pyro right there, Avalanche right there. Technically, Rogue is on the cover, but, you really can't see her. But this is another book that, I think is a classic book. And I think a lot of times people forget how popular of a character Rogue is to the Marvel universe. I mean, as far as the characterization is concerned of what we got in the animated cartoon, I mean, I would actually make the argument that between her and Storm, those are two of probably Marvel's biggest female characters there is in the, catalog of characters that they actually have. Now, we got the Anna Paquin version of Rogue in the Fox franchise, and she did what she did with it. She did an okay job, but I feel like they didn't do that character justice. And if we get Rogue in the MCU, what's really exciting to me is that I think that they're going to be able to do sort of that girl next door persona who, can tell you a joke on one hand and then she can punch you in the face on the other. And I really do think that that's going to be a character that is very, very successful. So Avengers Annual #10, found this one for 80 bucks. Every time I pick it up or every time I see it at a pretty good deal, I am always going to pick that one up. All right, this next book here is one that I feel like got really ahead of itself, but now where the numbers are and where the prices are, I think is actually a good time to buy back into this one. But this one right here is X-Men #4. First appearance of Omega Red, of course, the X-Men series done by Jim Lee that came out in the 90s. Now, Omega Red has kind of become like almost Mephisto level of a mean character, thinking that he was going to be showing up in Falcon and Winter Soldier, thinking he was going to be showing up in Black Widow. Of course, we never actually got him in those respective movies or TV shows, but Omega Red is still a cool character and one that hasn't been done on screen yet. And I think about, all the rogue gallery of X-Men villains, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for this character because they are so celebrated amongst comic book collectors. I mean, even though they're a character that came out in the Copper Age, I think a lot of people love Omega Red because he's like a Jim Lee creation, and everybody, is a fan of all the, Jim Lee style of X-Men. And to me, Omega Red is the villain that sort of portrays that or personifies that the most. So I really do like that book, especially if you can find it around that $20 level, which for that one I actually did. All right, this other book here that I picked up is actually one that I'm happy to add back to my collection. I had a copy, but I moved on with it, and I kind of missed that I ended up selling this one. So this one I added it back into the collection is Xfactor #24. First cover appearance of Archangel, first maybe appearance of Archangel. I know that there's a lot of controversy with this book, but regardless, this is the book that collectors seem to mostly gravitate towards when they're fans of the Archangel character and they want to own a cool book with him on the cover. This one right here is not a near mint copy. It's more of like a fine VF copy, but I found this one for $10, which to me is a great price for a book like this. I absolutely love this cover, and that's one of the reasons why I think, kind of like with this one versus Xfactor 23, or similar to Gambit with X-Men 266, I feel like these covers are so much better than their first true appearance respective books that, these ones are always going to be the ones that the market tends to gravitate to more. So I really do like this book. And even though we got, a version of Archangel in the Apocalypse film, I feel like they did that character so dirty. And if we can ever actually get a good representation of Archangel on screen, I absolutely think that this book has a really big ceiling, or really high ceiling in front of it in the future. All right, this next book here, you guys know I'm talking about picking up Copper Age books. I had to pick up 2 copies of Darkhawk #1. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking to yourself, I am such a homer for Darkhawk, and I am, but, I really do think that this is a great character to have. I mean, look, I got these books for $15, $20 here. I mean, it's such a easy buy-in. You're always going to be able to find a raw copy of this book around that $20 price point. To me, I think it's so worth adding this to your collection, because you don't want to be the guy that has, Swaggle tell you, I told you so, when Darkhawk eventually shows up in the MCU. Now, of course, James Gunn had recently tweeted that he was actually considering utilizing Darkhawk in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's gotten this book really hot in the market as of recently. Of course, eventually, like all things do, that'll start to die down. We'll start to forget that James Gunn tweeted that. But it really is interesting to think about how this character at least is in those conversations, behind the scenes in Marvel Creative. And I think when the right time comes for this character, they're definitely going to utilize him. I mean, you could imagine a world where we introduce Nova into the MCU and we start to expand on that side of, the space and that side of the, kind of Marvel cosmic universe. And then eventually they can introduce a character like Darkhawk through Nova's film or through Nova's TV show, because those two characters have had a lot of interaction in the past together. All right, and the last 2 books I wanted to show off to you guys are not Copper Age books, which kind of, destroys sort of the theme of my haul here. But this one is, maybe arguably a little Copper Age-ish. But this one I picked up right here is Spider-Woman #1, a book from 1978. So still a Bronze Age book, not quite Copper Age, but getting close there. This is a great copy I picked up for myself. It's about a near mint minus. Found it for $30. Not too bad of a price for this book right here. But I'm someone who really feels like Spider-Woman as a character has been slept on pretty hard. I recently made that video where I picked up the Marvel Spotlight 32, first appearance of Spider-Woman. I also really like this book right here for all the reasons I've mentioned previously. I really like #1 issues, first solo series. And I think Spider-Woman as a character, because of the fact that we know that she's going to show up on Into the Spider-Verse #2, played by Issa Rae, and the fact that Marvel does have access to the Jessica Drew version. They can't call her Spider-Woman. There's some technicalities around it, but if they want to use her, maybe for a Secret Invasion storyline, or if they want to use her for, some kind of, agent on the Sword team, they can use her. And I do think that Jessica Drew has a lot of potential for that reason. So I like Spider-Woman #1 as well as Marvel Spotlight 32. And then the last book I picked up for myself right here is just not a Copper Age book, not even a Bronze Age book, but a Silver Age book, and one that I felt like talking about in this video here today. But this one here is Tales to Astonish #79. This would be the first meetup of Hercules and the Hulk. Now, a lot of people know about this book as being just kind of a great Tales to Astonish cover with these two characters. I mean, I absolutely love, them battling together. I mean, Hulk and Hercules have had a lot of fights in comic books over the years, and I think a lot of these battle covers are very underrated in the comic book market. Now, there's a lot of speculation we might be getting Hercules at some point in Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't really know if we're going to see that, but it does feel like eventually we're going to see Hercules in the MCU. And when we do, this could be a really good fan favorite moment to see these two characters come together. And this is actually their first meetup. So I decided to pick up this book, found it for $14, VG copy. Not too bad if you ask me. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was just me showing off my casual, Friday little comic book haul. A lot of Copper Age stuff I picked up for myself. I mean, I think the Copper Age, has a lot of great books in there that, I still like to pick up every time I see them for good deals. I think $20 is that sweet spot. Like if you can find nice presenting copies of some of those key issues, I think you're going to do really well for yourself in the future. Anyways, that's all for this video. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I'll see you in the next one.